Okay, folks, good morning. Happy Sunday. Got off to a little later started than I wanted to. Well, I woke up at the same time. I was just doing some Army research or heraldry research this morning. As you can see there by the thumbnail, there is a plethora of things to find on the internet. And doing some searches for Hungarian heraldry or medieval Hungarian heraldry, I came across a codex from the same time period that I'm doing in Germany or parts of Germany and so forth in bordering areas. So just trying to get some ideas for some heraldry here for these knights that are mercenaries. Let's see if I can put this water bottle somewhere else so I'm not going to kick it. And I definitely wanted to get some blue in here. So I actually came across a website here that is St. Gall Abbot Ulrich Roche Book of Heraldry. And there's several pages of this manuscript that is shown on here. There's just a plethora of stuff, information. So they've got some famous people. Like this is Otto von. It's not only is it another language, which I can make it out, but it has some medieval type of script, which is difficult to make out sometimes. But this is a Otto Herzog von Prutwitz, something or another. That's a big guy. We're not interested in that stuff for these minor guys. And I'll show you what I'm going to do on. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here, and actually, you can look these people up and find out some of the time periods that they were at the beginning. I clicked on a lot of it. Let me get back to. Here we go. This is what I'm going to do. See this right here? Von Leyen. I think that's an L. This is what we're going to do on this shield here. And it looks kind of like a greenish blue, but we're going to go with blue. So we're going to put the center boss on this shield here. Remember, his shield looks, let's see if I can get a light on there. Well, there's a center. Oh, look at that. I can move it around. Hot damn. I forgot I have a touch screen sometimes. But that's what we're going to paint this guy as. But yeah, this is a cool place here. This is what it is. This is the source. So if you guys want to check this out, if you're working like on a late German army, it's from the 15th century in Heidelberg. St. Gall Abbot Ulrich Roche, Book of Heraldry, from 1462 to 1491, containing 1,626 coat of arms of prominent people from the laity and the clergy, mostly from the southern region of Germany. This heraldic book was probably prepared in the Heidelberg workshop of Hans Ingram for an unknown customer from the area between the Neckar River and the Upper Rhine in the 1480s. St. Gall Abbot Ulrich Roche purchased the volume and had numerous coats of arms from Swiss and German border areas added in the back pages. These were drawn by Winterthur artist Hans Hagenberg, one of the most important heraldic record books of the 15th century. Yeah, so there's interesting stuff here. Anyway, so I came across this in my search, and this is what we're going to go with, this particular one right here. Okay? All right. That's actually the kind of stuff I enjoy doing. Again, I can't go into the details of did this guy in particular serve in the Black Army of the Hungarian, nah, I don't want to get into that, but I want to get some ideas that, it's some pretty simple heraldry on this particular guy. And, I didn't want these guys to be very complicated anyhow, so that should just fit the bill just fine. Okay. So we have white in the center and blue on the edges. Right. Let's go ahead and do the blue on this guy. There's so many things on the internet that are useful as far as inspiration. It's just incredible. So that symbol works really well with the configuration of this shield, having that center boss. So it's almost like it's made for this type of shield. So that's pretty fortunate. All right, and we're just going to keep going with the blue here so we don't have to switch and rinse. Man, we need to get some fan action in here. It's 50 something outside, but I need to have some air circulation. Big fan of air circulation. Wish my light wasn't so creaky. Got rid of the creaky chair so we don't have that snap, crackle, and pop thing that was doing. Okay. And let's get back to this true color a little bit more. Thin this down. I want a smooth transition between them. So, following the same pattern that I did with the last one, this same pose of figure, or at least the mounted, the human portion of this figure, we'll be doing the other rider that's like this next, which is this guy here. And when we do his shield, we will not do a pattern similar to this one. So in other words, we're not going to do like a red shield with a yellow boss on there. That would be too lazy. Because to the untrained eye, this would just look like, oh well, I just ran out of ideas and I just decided to paint the shield one color, and then the boss a different one because I couldn't figure out who this guy is. But no, this is an actual dude. Whatever his name is. What would we say his name is? Von Leyen. Looks like Leyen, but it looks like the umlaut's over the Y, which makes no sense. Silly monk. I think umlauts only go over vowels. I could be wrong though. I Mitch's friend that came over and ran the DBN the other day. He's German. I made a point that we get together and play, and I'm the only non-German playing, or people of German descent, I should say. And Klepling is his last name, or that's how he says his last name. And I asked him, I said, didn't your, because he has an OE in his name, and I'm like, didn't your name have an umlaut in it? And he's like, yeah, we took it out. And I'm like, oh man, I would have never taken that out. That's a cool symbol. Things look really cool like that with it. But I don't know. Lots of people change their name to come to this country. I think it's kind of sad. It dilutes your wherever you came from. But yeah, that's just me. Maybe I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of someone who didn't dilute their name. We got to be really careful with this and not make this too bright. I don't think you could have an umlaut over a Y. I could be wrong. I think it's vowels only. Good morning. Herzog equals Duke, yes. Von Prittwitz was a commander of the eastern start of World War One. There also was a, man, I'm telling you, I'm a World War II nut, but you forget things when you don't study them anymore. I want to say he was a commander of a panzer group of the Grossdeutschland. I could be wrong in World War II. I want to say that was I think there was a von Prittwitz. There was one count or whatever like that was involved in one of the panzer groups and one of the divisions and in something that I read. It's just the name sounds familiar, so I'm sure that is. And he was sacked for incompetence and replaced with Hindenburg. Yeah, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Hindenburg was probably a better commander. I don't know how Prittwitz was, but it's funny because I'm reading a book on that just right now. I mentioned that yesterday. I am reading I do Audible, and I was reading an Audible book called, man, what's it called? It's funny you mentioned that. It's, I'll tell you right now what it is. It's by Prit Bhutar, Collision of Empires, War on the Eastern Front, 1914. So the war is just getting going right now. I'm maybe a tenth of the way through the book or whatever on Audible, just reading it to and from work. And he's got a series, I think, of like three more on the Eastern Front of World War One. and he's got some in between the wars stuff as well. So right now it's pretty fascinating. I wish I had pictures, so I find myself stopping and then going on Wikipedia and looking these people up so I can get a visual of who they are. But you know, which guy with a mustache are we talking about this time, right? Interesting how relatively light the blue is. Wonder if the ink in the book is the same as the paint and dye used on shields and in the cloth, etc. I think that it's just faded. This particular one is faded. But again, it's just a guide. I'm sure that, I've mentioned this before. I don't like using decals for. And by the way, Elevev, I don't know. Did I say your name right or your handle right? Where are you coming from, Elevev? And good morning to. The I've mentioned this before that these people that painted these shields, that when you look at those decals of like the ones by Little Big Man Studios, there's, there's nobody in that time period that could paint shields to that level. I mean, unless it was Michelangelo painting shields, but just random people painting shields. Yeah, the Little Big Man Studio stuff looks better than they would in real life. Unless you got Michelangelo painting your own stuff or someone along that caliber. Yeah, there's a lot of heraldry stuff out there. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of German, French, English, a fair amount of Spanish. The codexes are great because they're done in that time period. And again, this is just a stupid wargaming figures for a stupid war game that, is very abstract. So a lot of it is just to kind of get ideas for, what color things may have been, and then put your own artistic license on it. So I got to do my feudal Spanish. I have a feudal Spanish book 335C army to do. I already did the B, but the C army has horses with the cloth on them, and I found a codex a while ago that has a bunch of stuff for the different Spanish nobles and stuff like that. So we'll probably use that, including one with my surname. So I'll be in there somewhere. Maybe not me, but it's like I like to say, my people. Good stuff, fun stuff. Yeah, my French 100 Years project, if I ever get around to doing it, it's going to take forever. There's just so much stuff to dig through. I mean, I want to do it as accurate as I can. I mean, why not? It's part of the fun. I'm definitely not someone who just makes generic knights and uses them for all kinds of different countries. That's not my style. That's not my style at all. Let's get us some. I could have just come in here and brought this back to life. It took a little bit of digging and I found it. And then there's different coat of arms for different countries and different regions in Hungary, and but you have to make sure that they're not modern representations instead of older ones. So you got to do a little bit of digging. It's all fun, but it takes some time. You know, if you want to do it right, if you want to just throw things on there, that works too. Those guys fight just as well. I One of the most winning armies I have is an army that I borrowed. It was an Athenian army, and they didn't even have a command figure. I had to take a piece of. They were really poorly painted, and the guy I was borrowing from even commented, "It's like, yeah, I just got them really cheap off the internet, and they're horrible figures." He didn't paint them, but they had no command figure, so I took a piece of masking tape and just taped it around the head of one of them, and that was the command stand. Those guys were unstoppable. I want a whole turn. I want a tournament with them, and yeah. So it doesn't really matter what the figures look like. They for playing games, the ugly figures fight sometimes better than good looking figures. So all right, let's get a little bit more of this on here. And a little more. I'm telling you, I'm really enjoying this airbrush thinner. And I actually read up on it a little bit, and what they seem to say is, unlike water, the airbrush thinner just thins the paint without losing the pigmentation. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a bunch of hocus pocus or whatever, but it sure allows it to apply smoother and not like clump up and or get stuck to the bristles as much. So just adding a little bit for wetness purposes to kind of keep it moving. It works for me. I'm happy with it. So uh-oh, we got an umlaut conversation. Awesome. Umlauts were only invented during the era of printing, I think. Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it. It's a means of replacing the necessary E when it is an AE or OE. I think that's the case. Anyways, I could be wrong. Huh. All right, we're gonna write that down on things to look up when I'm not online. Umlaut. Umlaut history. Anyways, well, they look really cool. I've always liked them. Okay, so we've got this done. We've got a scabbard that we need to do, and then we can go on and do the other more horse trappings and so forth. So we'll leave the blue there. I may have to lighten up a little bit of highlighting on there, but so far, this guy's going to look. Remember, these guys are going to be in the back rank here. It's let's put these guys for comparison purposes here. Yeah, and then of course we're going to have the fancy folks in the front. You know, fancy folks like this guy. He's in the front of the wedge. So, yeah. So this is the back three figures of the wedge stand. You know, we've got the front three. We got the file leader, so to speak, and then we have two other ones, and then the three across the back are these figures that we're doing now, and they will each be. Well, there's two figures. There's a total of six figures, three for each one, and they're each going to be on a different stand. So, like for instance, these two guys are the same miniature. The horse may be different, but the actual rider is the same. So, one of these will be on one stand, and the other one will be on the other stand, just to kind of mix it up. Same thing. There's two with this pose. One will be on one will be on the other one, and the last set will be the same as well, just to mix up the variety, you know, so it doesn't look very, you know, doesn't look drab. If I was doing like Roman legions or something like that, all the same pose, perfectly acceptable. I actually would prefer it, but not so much with more irregular troops such as these. So, I think you're right about where the umlauts come, though. Solzhenitsyn. Oh boy. Solzhenitsyn. Okay. Novel. August 1914's Great Exploration of the Early Campaign. Cool. Good morning. Wolverhampton, UK. Initially Welsh, though. Well, that explains your name. Cool. I'm going to be looking up at some Welsh history, although it's super complicated. You know, for the untrained eye. when I work on my Welsh Army. That's on my short list for sure. I'm getting a kick out of these. I don't want to say crappier because it sends the wrong message, but like my Irish, they're not the top tier armies that everybody does. Just more of irregular looking, non fancy dressed. I really like the. I love my Irish. I can only imagine my Welsh army. I'll probably love my pre feudal Scots, and yeah, I'm gonna try to do that. I'm gonna try to do the one fancy army, and one not so fancy. So my next army will be not so fancy, and I mean that in the standpoint of, colorful guys like the king or whichever one of those guys will probably be his stand will be fancy, but the rest of the guys are just peasants with stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing the Welsh for sure. That's cool. And I know a guy from Wales, like that I've met personally. He's a nice guy, and he's actually traveled to Florida several times to come to our conventions. He's a very nice fellow. I think you're right. They would have been much rougher on the real thing on the weaving. The guy on the shields is really good given the size. Well, this is the normal size. I don't do 28s. I'd be here all day. I didn't grow up with 28s, so there's no history there. The other thing is if I was say in an area where everybody did 28s, then it would make sense for me to do 28s, right? Or I'm going to be supplying figures for everybody, and that just isn't the case. 15 millimeters, what's prominent here. But I've mentioned this before. If I did do 28s, without a doubt, I would base them in such a way that I could pop them off the stand and use them in a skirmish game as well, so they could get double use. But it used to be I didn't like how what 28 millimeter figures were available and what they look like. But there's so much variety now. There's some really nice stuff out there. There's some stuff out there I really really like, but it's just too late. It's just too late. And I'm also one of these people that the more time I spend on the figures, the more time they should spend on the tabletop. So in other words, the more detail I put on the figures, the more the detailed the rules should be. That's just the way I look at it. And I wouldn't want to spend 8 hours on a figure and then you play a game that's very simple, or deceptively simple, I should say. So I don't know. You got to do what your people in your area do. You can't be the lone wolf. Well, you could be, but then you end up supplying everything for everybody. And that didn't get me into this period. What got me into this period is I could just paint my own figures, and everybody else brings their own stuff, and that was the attraction for me. This period, from 3000 BC to 1500 AD. That's a hell of a period. So Wolverhampton, we'll have to look that up. I'm a geography nut, so I'll yeah. What's his name? Bledden is a really nice guy. The Welsh guy that we know, really nice fellow. You know, the only way I'm painting a Welsh army is, believe it or not, I'm not a big drinker, but I've enjoyed the hell out of drinking Irish whiskey with my with my Irish army. Now, I understand that whiskey isn't the correct time period for what if the figures would be painting, but you got to draw the limit somewhere, right? You got to draw the line somewhere. But what do they drink in Wales? What's big in Wales? So if I built a Welsh army, what do I need to bring with me on game nights so it'd be appropriate? I guess I could look it up, but that's uh, that's part of the attraction for sure. And I really need to get off my ass and put my stats together. But I would say that my Irish are probably have the best win record of any of the armies I have, which is really surprising. But luck of the Irish. They didn't get that saying from nothing. Okay, let's see what we got here. We can still get granted arms in the UK. So, that's really, I'm going to say this now. I'm going to interrupt myself so I don't forget. When I was looking into the Scots and stuff, I mean, you're aware of this, but for those of us that are uninformed here in the United States, there's like a board of official tartans, tartan patterns. And I make the mistake of saying plaid all the time when I mean tartan. But anyhow, for the different families, clans, all that kind of stuff. And when they did that movie Brave, Disney actually created their own tartan for that made up clan that they did, and it's in the registry. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was really neat that they did that. Still get granted arms in the UK. You get one if you join the House of Lords or become a knight. You you can also get yourself one if you're prepared to pay a big wad of cash. You can get sued in the court of chivalry run by the Earl Marshal if you use one without the owner's permission. Oh, wait a second. Our links back to the Hundred Years' War from the Internet Age. We're currently having a big argument over fishing rights with the French. Some things don't change. Yeah. You can get granted arms in the UK. Don't you? But don't you already have any? I mean, if your last name is such and such, there's already arms to that name. Oh well. Maybe it's not official. I don't know. Well, I have my own crest of arms, and it's on a very nice mounting in my house, and I'm very proud of it, and it's nice. I didn't get stuck with one of those stupid heraldry things. I looked up Mitch's last name, and he has a. If you look up Harbach, it ends up being like a potted plant. So, literally, no joke. It's I can't show it right now, but it's something like that. So it's like, oh, I see your people used to grow stuff in the old country. But yeah, there's some dumb heraldry out there, in my opinion. Like bent over guys blowing trumpets out of his ass or something like that. Just something really, just really something not very. Well, I on the thumbnail of this, I looked up one of these German guys. He ends up having a rooster. Like that's something to be proud of. I'm not going to be doing one of those in this army because I think that's more of a German guy. These I wanted this one to be more of a maybe a little bit not more nondescript sort of things, but and also I don't want to paint a rooster on when there's a ridge on this. That's going to be not going to have the desired effect. But yeah, maybe you want to get a different coat of arms if you got stuck with a dumb one. But I guess there's you could get a new coat of arms, right? If you don't know who you come from. If you don't know who your daddy is. Oh man. Fishing rights with the French. I was just thinking, and this came to another discussion about cars. And I love stick shift cars. I love them. I'm the only person here in the United States. No, I'm kidding. I'm the minority of the population, though. But I would hate to drive in the UK because your stick is on the left hand side, right? So it's got to be in the middle of the car, which means the clutch pedal doesn't change. It's still on the left, but now your stick's on the left. And that's like dangerous. Doing that for somebody who's not used to that and then switching and driving on the other side of the road, that's like a disaster waiting to happen. So what happens when you guys get out of the channel? You can drive across the channel. Like at the very minute, it's like, there must be a, hey, you better get ready to drive on the wrong side of the road or whatever. That's got to be an accident waiting to happen, literally, because France is the other way. I was surprised actually to find out Ireland, they drive on the UK side as well. But yeah, that's got to be a huge mess, a potential huge mess. I don't know. I don't think I'm leery of tunnels anyways, and going across one that's what 30 miles long. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea for me. I'm nothing good can happen with that. I'll just I'll just swim across the top level. How about that? 15 millimeter, good compromise, 20 something. I would do a smaller scale. I would do fives and I would do sixes and tens if there was enough figure variety. They just don't have the poses. I thought about doing Renaissance in six. The problem is that they just don't have enough. You end up buying a lot of the same figures and painting them over and over again. So you Walsh were great in the hills and in ambushes. You were. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, we got that on there. Let's see where we're gonna go here. Let's get this. We're gonna do the saddle here in a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter color than we normally would because we need it to pop. We're gonna mix it with some brown in here. We don't need to use black for this. There's so much left to do with this army. It's just, I don't want to say it's overwhelming, but I try not to think about it. One thing at a time. We'll get there eventually. This is why it doesn't work for me to switch periods and stuff. I've got to stay on one thing because this will get done in 2021. I bet this army will be done by the time we have another convention, whenever the hell that may be. But I'm getting more painting done now than I ever did when there was conventions to paint things for. But for me, it's making programs like this one or doing filmings just keeps me on task. And yeah, getting a lot more done than I normally would have. And that's because it wasn't until what, July of this year that I could go on live on YouTube. So thanks for all the subscribers that made that possible. So unfortunately, it's not at a higher resolution, but There's nothing we can do about that. I think they kind of dumbed everything down because of so much internet being used. There's only so many resources to go around, so but that's all right. Not so good on the flat, and not enough could afford good armor. In North Wales, long spears keep the knights at bay. It was used in South Wales. They used bows in a big way. Yeah, I probably would do both armies. Um, I probably would do both. I think the spears with some bow with mostly spears with some bows probably better than a lot of bows with very few spears. Because the problem with bows is, I mean, I love shooting elements, but you got to play keep away with them sometimes. You got to keep the guys off of them. So I'll probably do both. I've got enough figures to do both for sure. And and I know they just came out with those beautiful forged in battle figures for the Welsh. So I'd probably end up getting some of those and mix them all in so you have some figure variety. I would just need a pronunciation guide for the Welsh names. You know, that's just a different animal altogether. I don't want to pronounce things wrong if I can avoid it. It's part of learning, part of the interest in it. Try to say things correctly if you can. Welsh has got to be easier than Greek in that respect. I played a. I'm playing some forged, no, some forged in battle. I'm playing some Field of Glory online with a DBA player, and we just got done. The battle just before the set that we're doing right now was Anglo Saxons and Welsh, and we're playing a mirrored game, which means in one game he's playing the Anglo Saxons, and the other one I'm playing the Anglo Saxons, and the Welsh got destroyed in both games. I mean, it was just like they just got devastated. So that was unfortunate. But I do have a set of Welsh flags. When I picked up the Irish ones, they came with some Welsh ones as well. So I got everything set there to get started on those. We just have to see which one of those armies is going to win out. But definitely one of the coolest looking flags nowadays. The Welsh flag. That's just a really neat one. His arms are inherited, but as individuals, not as a family. Okay? My wife has inherited arms. My family were just Welsh peasants. Her lot were running around in armor. We were just trying to stay alive. Cue the disco music, right? All right, so we need to pop a color underneath there. We're going to use some red. We're not going to use this red. We want it to be just a little bit different. I know it doesn't make a big difference, but it's the thought that counts. Let's use the scarlet one. I believe that's the one that's the most orange one of them all, of the three. And it's just a starting point anyways. So end up mixing black and stuff in there. So yeah. This one's kind of Ronald McDonald looking. You will switch easily. I have to do it when I go to France. It needs a bit of concentration. Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Okay, in traffic because you just follow the other guys. Okay, makes sense. It can be a problem when you're alone. Oh, yeah. That's stick though in the middle of the car on the left hand side though. Wow. It's funny. We went car shopping yesterday or preliminary car shopping. We lease vehicles, so they're not up yet. We got another 6 months, but it's time to look now. And I haven't had a stick shift in since 2007, and I'm itching. I'm itching bad. So we have very few options here of what vehicles you can have that are stick shift. So I wanted to kind of go through those, and I wasn't able to do any of the test drives because there's a shortage problem of vehicles due to, that thing that's going on that I forget about all the time. So that was kind of unexpected. So that kind of threw a damper in the plans for yesterday. But luckily, we started early enough that, still got another 6 months. So hopefully, they get some inventory here. But I don't think things are going to change anytime soon. So I may have to wait until another 3 years to look into that option. So we'll see. That was a little unfortunate. I wasn't really expecting that. There's very few stick shift options here, with an actual clutch, not that fake thing that that I rarely use, whatever they call it. I think they call it smart shifting. I don't know. I don't think it's so smart. My wife doesn't use it at all. I rarely use it. It's just not the same. 'Cause we have no mountains here, so if you had hills and stuff like that, yeah, I could see using that a little bit more. But it's pretty much flat country here. So, okay. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Maybe you can come back. I'll still be on. I don't know how long I'm going to be. Hopefully, another couple hours. And that's what I hope my painting is, an inspiration, not a wow, that looks too good. You're making my stuff look like crap. That's not what the purpose is. Okay, there's people out there that blow me completely away, and I'm encouraged by it because I know it's a trick. And sometimes you try to corner those people and like, hey, how did you do this? Because it's just it's just a trick and practice and that kind of stuff. There's always going to be somebody that paints better than you do. But I get inspired when I see people that are like, oh, that looks really cool. And I try to dissect, what exactly they're doing. But one thing I found is anybody whose stuff I like better than my own painted, there's no shortcuts to that. They spend forever painting it too. The only thing you can cut down on is how much time you spend cogitating about what colors you're going to use. That's what really consumes the time. Because the actual painting, like this part, is fun. It's relaxing. It's therapy, as I like to call it. But trying to figure out what color is next, yeah, that can be a little. You can spend a lot of time on it and have nothing to show for it. So, philosophy of painting. Yeah, I see stuff out there and I get really inspired by it. I'm not like, oh, I need to give up painting. But I guess maybe it's if you have enough of a skill set, you feel comfortable with adding more to it. Like on YouTube. There's some people that are really musically talented that I'm like, I'm never getting into anything musical related because it's just not me. It's like almost you have to have an interest or a skill set to kind of go forward. Otherwise, you're just like pissing up a rope. And music is you won't be seeing any music stuff from me. I can guarantee it. I'm just not programmed that way. I'm just not programmed that way. So okay, we got a little bit of red there. Now I have to dissect and figure out what exactly I'm looking at. It looks like there's a long. It looks like there's a saber that runs across the bottom of this underneath the. Let's see if we can get this thing to focus. Underneath his cloth there that he's riding on. So I think that's what we need to do. But we've got horse trappings and stuff that we need to do. And it's almost like I need to do like a similar to like a maybe a white so that it pops up nicely on that. And scabbard, of course, will just be can be just a standard scabbard color. But I do need to do like a light color so that that could pop. White's kind of lazy. What else could I do? Let's see. I don't want to get too many colors in here. Would a yellow work? Maybe we can do something that's a little yellowish looking. Let's try this. If I don't like it, I'll repaint it. I don't repaint things very often, but that's good because that's just a waste of time. Why repaint something when you can paint something new? Iced coffee is not working so well. Yeah, the Welsh. Got plenty of figures to do on the Welsh. Be cool. I got some Welsh flags I like. I got some pre-fuel Scots flags I like. Both of those guys are on my list. So whew. I really like YouTube to kind of getting a starting block of like real basic information and then start reading from there. I'm going to do the Welsh. I'm going to watch a couple of videos on their history to just kind of start the cementing some building blocks on it, and then adding in the details after that. So and of course I got a book that's on my wish list for Audible on Longshanks, so that would go to the forefront. And I got a Feudal English Army that's on my to-do list as well. So all good stuff. All good stuff. This is turning out okay. I can work with this. try to speed up my reading. My Audible credits are really piling up. Problem is the things that I end up picking are things that are really long books. And best case scenario, I'm only listening to maybe 45 minutes a day. That's only Monday through Friday. So they pile up on me. And I'm not painting and listening to the books anymore. Honestly, it was too relaxing. I was falling asleep, and the best thing I can do to get stuff painted is do this, what I'm doing right now. Never ending morning monologue that keep me on track and get things painted. But this is what I used to do when before I was filming live. I'd go, and there's several people that I follow on YouTube, and I'd just watch their shows. They weren't painting shows, but they were stuff I don't have to look up a lot. Look up and look at the screen, because otherwise that kind of defeats the purpose. But a couple guys that are very relaxing to listen to. Wargaming history stuff. So there's some great stuff out there. But I haven't listened to it in a long time. Several months. Need to brighten this sum up more. We're never going to get there. Let's not forget this little thing back here. Or we'll have to mix paint again and do it. It's not a problem to forget for me from the standpoint of not being able to reach it later. It's just annoying that I had the paints right here all together, and now I have to go track them down again. Just inconvenience, that's all. molding on the back here isn't great. It's almost very hard to make out exactly what I'm painting sometimes. No, you just kind of have to muddle through it. And what do you think it is that you're painting? All right. This guy's got some kind of device on his nose. I'm pretty sure that this horse came from, I mix and match horses, but this came from some Eastern or either a Muslim or like an Eastern European type horse where he's got some fancy trappings on there. But that's okay. He probably saw something in campaign that the other side was using, and he kind of liked that and incorporated that in himself. So a little bit of cross culture stuff. I'm sure that happened in Hungary. It's happened a lot in Sicily and Iberian Peninsula and stuff like that. People like the comforts of the other side sometimes. Okay. You should still have this alive here. Yeah. Happened a lot with the Sicilians. And that's a little bit of a flair there to their armies. Now, this guy's got a fancy scabbard, put in a fancy way. So let's make a scabbard fancy colored. Let's make it red. And then what else would we got that? Well, we got to put the little rivets inside the trappings there, paint the reins, and then we do the socks and all that stuff. So yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Right. Okay, and we're going to do that little thing that we do with the reins, which is using the same color and just lighting it up at a different point. which in this case would mean probably start something like this. Paint the other side. And then just right off from that standpoint, instead of adding more of the yellow, just add the white at this point and just lighten it up from there. Okay. Now we're gonna add a little bit of black, because sometimes these little rivet heads, they didn't get a good they didn't pop as much. Or I went over some of it in doing my painting, so I want to rebuild that. Okay. And then where's my metallic? No, we're gonna need more. We switched to a new detergent, and I'm still surprised when I smell it. It's pretty amazing smelling stuff. Never heard of it before. Persil or something like that. I don't know what smell it is, but it's very nice smelling. I was just like, what's that smell? And I meant that in a good way. I don't usually smell. I'm not that kind of gamer. I'm not a gamer at all. It's my public service announcement. You should shower every day, whether you think you need it or not. Nah, let's use this color for that. This emblem that's on the nose of the muzzle of the horse out here. Okay. All right, what do we got left on this guy? I guess the the horsehair. Oh, way too watery. Wonder what happened there. Okay. No biggie. Brush is probably wet. Picked up even more moisture. There we go. Okay. And lighten that up a little bit. A little bit more contrast in that so it could stand out. Do all that work and you can't even see that you did all that work. Okay. What do you got left? Socks. I'm getting in the habit of painting all 4 socks now. Let's get some of that original color. This is that. Where's this pretty color? Yeah, cavalry brown. Don't need very much. Okay. Gotta figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow for a game. Okay, we got some of this like shade down there. There's a little bit here that got scuffed up. All right, now with that color there, we're gonna add white to it. And that's what we're gonna use as the base color on the socks. Let's do 3 of them. Not do the 4. Be careful I don't scuff up the tail when I'm switching this around. Then I'll have to repaint it again, which is a waste of time. Let's get some fresh white down here. some of the hoof color, which I believe is this color right here, or this one will work. Okay. This guy's nearly done now. It doesn't look like it because I still gotta varnish him up, get some of that shine off. There's these hanging out here with the lesser knights. Mercenary knights. Oh, not that one. This one. There we go. Back rankers. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a break and might be on later today. But anyways, happy painting and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.